right, you should know why I'm blushing. I've got the most beautiful women in the African continent right here with me. It makes me the luckiest man on earth, and that's why I'm on Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. And it's been said that Nigeria is currently just passing through recession. It makes it very important that vocational education is key. And that's why we're looking at that topic today, also taking a view from 1960 up to date. How well has the vocational education in Nigeria done? And no other better person but someone I've got a crush on. All right, to come deal with this topic, let's make welcome Barrister Natasha right here with us. Good morning. Nice to have you join us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me again.
All right,
now I know you have a crush on me.
And I said you were going to take from this, and you said it looked like don't touch stuff. So.
Let me just try one.
Nice one.
Thank you. Is it grown in Nigeria?
Let me see. If it tastes nicer, then it's Nigerian.
It's nicer. This is made in Nigeria. It's grown in Nigeria, definitely.
Okay.
So, before we get carried away with these sweet things we're doing, obviously, I can see you put some new stuff on my table.
Yeah.
What's happening?
We're going to talk about the vocational industry. So it's very important I come up with something very practical.
Okay.
So our audience can connect as against just being theoretical today.
All right. So, first of all, we've got this beautifully made attires. Are they not made by machines or some super stuff? No,
this is handmade, made by the Ibira women.
Okay.
Most of the time you can connect them to Ashoke, but the Okene women have over 10 different kinds of weaving techniques that can serve as fabrics for upholstery, for outfits, for bags, for shoes, and so many more. So we're going to get into that later. But I just, we're going to throw light on the possibilities of vocational studies and the opportunities that can be created to tackle the jobs and unemployment crisis today. So we're going to get there in a bit.
All right, so let's look at vocational education. For you, do you think it's more key than the regular form of education? And what makes it very important for us? If you take a look from 1960 up to date, would you say we need it more now than ever before?
I would not say one is more important than the other, but we should have a harmony, a mix of both the traditional education and the Western education is very important. But first, let's start with what exactly is vocational education, because many people get it wrong. Some think it's all about only tailoring or the hair
Is it different
stylist.
from technical education?
Oh, we're going to get there. There are actually two kinds. There's the professional, vocational education and the technical. But both of them goes around the development of skills, that will help improve in your trade, in your craft, and your career. So let's start with the technical. Technical is about the theory and science of vocational studies. And then the co-vocational talks about the handcraft applications. So what we have, then the professional vocational, which many people do not know, can be found in engineering, in architecture, in accounting, in IT entrepreneurship, and even law.
Wow.
So when you see, yes, you see, it's when you discuss, when you focus on vocational education, then you begin to develop people's skills and thinking and capability that are connected to their talent, and then they will be able to innovate in their specific skill set or career set. Now, from 1960, after independence, the federal government realized that, of course, not everybody will be inclined towards the regular Western education. Not everybody wants to be a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer. Some people just want to perfect and just skills. So then the government set up about 23 industrial development centers all across Nigeria. The very first was the one in ABU Zaria. There opposite one of the gates, you have a 65-hectare that was set up for the very massive. Set up for technical and vocational trainings. Then in Ogun State, we have 70 hectares. Yes, so many of them, Lagos, Benin, even Abuja here, we have technical and vocational centers that were supposed to develop this and harness talent and skills of people who just don't want to go into the regular institutions. But what happened? We actually closed our interest in vocational training because we looked down at that profession and we focused so much more on the Western education. And what we have right now, we have so many lawyers, we have so many doctors, we have so many professions that do not key into what our needs are today.
Okay.
And that is where we have the skill gap. Okay. Now let me give you a very interesting example, because you might begin to wonder, people say, vocational studies, how am I going to make money from just being a shoe side cobbler or a tailor?
Yeah.
Well, let's get it. There is a market, a huge market for handcrafts. When I mean handcrafts, I'm not just talking about art decor or, you know, frames. No, no, no. I'm going to be a bit vain today. So I brought with me, I brought here this handbag. I saw you were like, oh, that's a beautiful handbag. Yes, this is a Louis Vuitton crocodile bag.
Okay.
It goes for about $30,000. I know that's vain, and that's so not me. It was a gift. I couldn't return it back. That's about, converting to today's currency, about 12 million naira.
So
now,
I have to
this
keep this
skin,
bag.
no, no, please, you're going to keep me too first.
All right. All right.
So, yes, it's about $30,000. Louis Vuitton is called the exotic crocodile skin.
Okay.
Now, it might surprise that this skin was most likely gotten from Nigeria. Because Louis Vuitton, Prada, and most of these exotic high-end brands actually patronize Nigerian leather. So, when I traveled to Sokoto, I visited one of the tanneries, and I saw a whole crocodile skin going for 15,000 naira. That crocodile skin can actually make 5 of these bags.
Wow.
Now, I need you to understand. But then these tanneries that exist in Sokoto and in Kano, some of them have been there for over 50, 70 years. And the people around there, the hunters who go hunt for these wild animals, who risk their lives and so much more, are still poor. As a matter of fact, you can't walk into these local tanneries without closing your nose. The stench there is terrible. Then you begin to wonder, why is it that on one hand, this same skin, which probably is gotten from Nigeria,
okay,
is able to generate 12 million from just one piece of it, whereas the whole entire skin is 15,000 naira. And that was even the first price. I'm sure if I had bargained more. And the trick there is the skill set. The skill set. A typical Hausa man knows how to make shoes, but then the quality of his leather. If you pour water, soak this bag in water. I've had this for like 7 years now. It still looks brand new. It's been in rain and everything because the technical part, now we're going to talk about the technical and vocational, which you asked for the difference. The technical part, before this bag is made, this is handmade, by the way, handmade. It takes about 3 months for one person to sit and make this bag. Now, the technical part of this is the study of the quality of leather. Not of the study. Okay. Now, there are different, in that part, you will see that before Louis Vuitton decides on a particular leather, they need to know that that crocodile has been weathered. And that's why they come to Africa, because the sun, the heat, everything has toughened that leather. So now, that is where the science, they don't just pick any crocodile, no, you need to know what quality of leather goes in there. Now then you begin to look at the finishing. You know, that is also another the science of this leather, which Nigeria, we don't have institutions today that actually can develop the skill and knowledge of this. That is why when you go to the regular market, you see our even Python skin wallet and all of this going for 1,000. Of course it's cheap because that particular product has not gone through the required skill that will now make it come out and will now attract the desired money. So imagine now, if there is a huge IDC center in Sokoto, about 35 hectares we visited late last year, and then in Kano as well, there's IDC. So the good thing now is the government is beginning to focus now. Like last year, we saw the President Buhari spoke in favor of starting and developing this industrial development centers so that people can go in there and develop upon their skills, which obviously has been passed down from generation to generation, but they lack innovation. I think I've spoken much more than the first question you asked.
All right, we're still looking at looking at the fact that now we know where the issue is, the technical part of it, not having the expertise, and that's why we're not getting the best. But going forward, what should we look at now? What should we do I agree the federal government is beginning to do something, but we as a people and other investors in this industry, what should be their mindset going forward?
Going forward, like the previous lady you had in here talked about, restructuring our curriculum that will focus on harnessing the potentials that we have here and will bridge the gaps. It is very important that all institutions, tertiary institutions in Nigeria, not only the technical part, do have a course that will speak about vocational education. It's very important because vocational education is intricately connected to entrepreneurship.
Okay.
If I know how to make this, okay, and I also know that I can market this product in the very best way that will develop my own personal economy, I might not be bothered about getting employment in the bank or stuff. So it is very important that we begin to have focus. The government focuses so much more. The policies, the educational policies will be drafted around improving the vocational studies in universities. And it's very important when you talk about the government involvement. People might begin to wonder, why again? What would the government need to do in this? It might surprise you that when I read some articles about how much American government funds in vocational studies, mind you, we talked about vocational studies covering also professional angle, which is research, you know, and Johns Hopkins University, which is the biggest university that handles vocational education, they get annually $1.9 billion for their research. And this, yes, 1.9 billion. And this research covers whether it's medical field, the food and science, it's just everything. We have eaten this, for example. It takes someone with a higher end of vocational education application to know what this seed is used for. What is this peel, this back used for? There are several parts of it, and it takes extra knowledge, not the typical knowledge that we get in school. That is why we need to have the government focus more on developing in as many districts as possible within a state so many vocational institutions and centers that will harness the talents of people and the passed down vocation. For example, you can see a typical woman, the cloth weaving in Iberland can be dated to like 200, 300 years old, but now it's fading away. The blacksmiths of in the Oka and even Iberland too are fading away. The blacksmiths in the glass works in Bida as well are fading away. So we need government to focus on this. The leather works everywhere in Nigeria. In Benin, we do have the wood carvers. And so if we have enough vocational and training centers around Nigeria, we'll begin to see that we have entrepreneurs who are more comfortable practicing and earning a living from more trades and crafts.
All right. You've got your last question because we're wrapping up.
No problem. Yeah. It will be my first and last. Well, actually, you talked about the sustainability of vocational skills and all that, and you mentioned that there should be more awareness for this in the universities. But how about if it actually has its own special, it should be a special school on its own, and aside from that, what could be that thing that will actually sustain this and make people really appreciate it more? Because this detailedness really blew my mind.
Yeah. You know, the industrial development centers, I don't know why they were called industrial development centers. I think the name just confused. We would think maybe you are walking into Julius Berger Hub. It's actually, these centers are built to be stand-alone institutions, actually, where practicals are being made, where you actually see how the shoe is being made and all sort of research and development. So they're in 23 all around. And there is a development now, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Minister of State, actually, she's very, very particular and interested in reviving these centers. So she had recently approached the African Development Bank to conduct a study, the feasibility study, to see how all these centers can be revived, focusing on the local strength. That means the center, the IDC that is in the north, will focus probably on the economic advantage there, which is leather works and coal. The IDC that is in the Benin part will focus more on the wood carving and all of that. And then along the line, we have one interesting thing. The NDDC and SMIDAN had a meeting recently, and there is some very interesting development because we saw on the news NDDC committed about 4 billion naira towards the next budget, next phase, so that they are going to focus on innovations around vocational study. And that's a big plus to to the NDDC for thinking about that, because NDDC is not only set up to make roads and co, it's about development, even the economy of the people. So right now, Nigeria is beginning to open its mind to that path which it has closed up for such a long time. You need to see that there are lots of opportunities in the arts and crafts and or vocational and technical aspect of things. Because that is actually who we are. By nature, sorry, I know you're really,
All right.
By nature, African Nigerians are very entrepreneurial. A Nigerian will do better when he invests and focuses on the skill that he has watched his grandfather do, his father, and himself. And that is why in Italy today, when you look at this bag and you begin to wonder, this bag is so fine, you'll be surprised that it's the 10th generation of skill transfer that was not ended, but it was rather improved upon. So when a child goes to school, they study vocational training and the art of leather, come back into that industry and improve. Yeah, so that's what.
All right, finally, so what's your scorecard for the vocational education in Nigeria from independence until this very moment? What will be your scorecard?
0. Okay. I'm very honest, 0. We have completely abandoned that which is very important to us. I know I brought this book last time. Permit me, so this is actually more appropriate. This is a book which was written by a lady who came all the way from America to study Nigerian textiles in ABU Zaria. This is in 1976, and this is her thesis. It reads, a study of the relationship which exists between an Okene weaver and her cloth. If Nigeria had actually focused so much on her vocational training center, we'll have people from India, from China, from Russia, from America come down here to study our own indigenous crafts. So we need to focus on this so we can open ourselves to the market, because Nigeria's competition is not just with herself, it's with the world. But if you want to put your best foot forward, you need to put your best indigenous foot forward. Sell what others don't have. Develop on your vocational training center. Thank you so much.
All right, so that's how quality wrap. Put your best food, indigenous food forward. That's the key word, and you're going to sell well. So, but for the scorecard for that industry, it's 0. So
for now.
With 2 eyes in between. All right, so I want to say a big thank you to Barrister Natasha Boti for doing justice to this very, very interesting topic, which is of national interest to us, talking about vocational education in Nigeria since independence. I want to say a big thank you for joining us.
You're
Once
welcome.
again, I'm putting some light, color, and finesse to New Day. All right, we'll go for a timeout, and when we come back, New Day definitely continues.